there's no serious argument about that. They're afraid to say it for various reasons, but they understand, with a few exceptions, okay? And those, the Republicans who get it are disturbed that the fringe of their party has captured, made it the center of their party. And they're looking for ways to recapture this issue, so we're trying to help them. The impacts are debatable, but they're all bad news, okay? This is the bad news side of the story. The science, each new study that comes out is worse than the last one. It's happening faster, the impacts are worse, it's all bad news. The good news of the next two are, we've got the technology to fix this. There is feasible technology out there, there are technology solutions, and they're affordable. You can link the technology and economics together. My real point is very few people are experts on all six of these. How many people do you know that walk around that are great? We were talking about fixing things. My wife will marry a handyman in her next life. I cannot fix a thing. Larry's pretty good at it. He's into technology. I struggle with that piece of this. Windmills and all the alternative energy sources, and you know, I love the science, I love the environmental side, but the technology is tough for me. The economic, but I know this much. We've got it. There's a two-part solution here. One is we're going to reduce energy demand. It's that simple. We're going to have some additional conservation. There are ways to get way more efficient in how we use it, so that saves energy, and we're going to reforest. I mean, that's reducing the demand side. And then on the supply side, we're going to get off carbon and ramp up basically wind, solar, and hydro. Some people want to include nukes. I'm agnostic on nukes. I learned that immediately. Once I saw the scale of this problem, I went from being a lifelong opponent to nuclear technology to saying, what's a few nukes among friends? You know, if you bring in conservative support and they think they can find insurance to build them, be my guest. So, you know, the important thing is we've got the feasible technologies today. We don't have to do what the fossil fuel industry is telling us, which is delay, delay, delay. We need breakthrough technology. That's nonsense. We've got it. What we need to do is deploy, deploy, deploy every last bit of low carbon technology we've got. Economics, it's affordable. This is not going to bust the bank for us or future generations. This is for a modest investment. There are economists who argue credibly that it will cost us no more to make the transition into carbon fuels than it will cost to upgrade the carbon infrastructure we have today. So between now and 2050, we're going to spend a lot of money on energy. The question is what kind. It's not that it's going to be hugely expensive. Then you get into politics, and this gets complicated. I started early in my career here in the state. I was a judge, but early on I was a law clerk for Governor Pat Lucey. I ran Marty Schreiber. When he was governor, I ran his legislative program in the state assembly. I spent 6 years working for 2 different assembly speakers. I worked for a lieutenant governor, and I've held senior management positions in our state agencies. That was the first 20 years. I know a lot about politics, and I know it's, you know, local, you got state issues, you got national issues, and you got some regional issues, let's not skip that. And then you've got the international component, the Chinas, the Indias, and what they're going to do. That can get really complicated in a hurry, and there's 2 pieces to the political side. One, politicians want to get elected, and you have to understand a little bit about electoral politics, and then you've got to learn a little bit about legislation, and that's the other piece of it. You know, you get into the policy side. And then finally, you got the media looking at all these chess games going on, you know, where one side's winning or losing, and they're looking down the fog here, trying to figure it all out. So the good news is on the bad news is on the science side, the good news is on the policy side. We can fix it. I've covered enough of this, I'm not going to do it again. Getting educated. If I had to say read one book, this is the book, Storms of My Grandchildren by James Hansen. How many of you have heard of James Hansen? Hansen is the guy on this who, I wrote for a living. That's what I did. I respect people who know how to write. This man can write. It is clear, it is understandable. You should read his op-eds. He has a TED video. He's one of the this. Energy, you know, I'm like on a caffeine high. I got my caffeine and I'm high energy. He is just this low-key guy who's a grandfather, and if you want to see a good video, just look up his video. His technical papers are easy to read. He's worth reading. So that's the one. But the real question is, who is James Hansen this way? He's the guy who taught Al Gore his climate science, and Al Gore runs the Climate Reality Project. He's the one who gave Bill McKibben. How many of you heard of McKibben? Hopefully everybody, yeah. 350. He gave McKibben the 350 number. McKibben was after him for months. What's the number? What's the number? And he said, well, I'll get it to you. On his way to Iowa, where he was giving a speech, Hansen finally said, well, it really has to be 350. And that's 350 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And Hansen is also on Citizens Climate Lobby Board. He is we have a 3-member board. He's the board. This is his show. So Hansen's behind just about everything going on politically. No matter what organization you're with, he's connected. Here's what he says about Citizens Climate Lobby, the group I'm with. And one of them, most impressive is the work of Citizens Climate Lobby, a relatively new, fast-growing, nonpartisan, nonprofit, no dues, we're not after your money. With chapters across the United States and Canada. If you want to join the fight to save the planet, save creation for your grandchildren, there is, and this to me is the takeaway, there's no more effective step you can take than becoming an active member of this group. There's a reason for this. He had not said this when I joined CCL. I knew he was on the board. That's what tipped me over. And I said, yeah, I'm going to give this a try. Anything he's associated with, because I'd read enough of his stuff. But he's been terrific. So I did my due diligence as a judge when I was trying to decide what to do. And here's what you're going to find with CCL. No membership dues, Hansen's on the board. Our goal is simple. Our immediate goal is in the next 5 years to enact a revenue-neutral carbon tax. And we'll talk some about that. A revenue-neutral carbon tax, most simply, is this. You put a price on carbon that reflects its real social costs. They're getting to use the atmosphere as a dump. If they can't do that freely, their product will not compete. And if we don't get that done, if we don't get a federal price on carbon, I can just about guarantee you there's no way to solve this problem, both domestically or internationally. Okay, it's just not going to happen. CCL, and this is what appealed to me, they are organized by congressional district. They've got a very smart organizational strategy. You focus on one congressman at a time. Your district's Ron Kind. That's the guy right now, and he's going to be there forever. He thinks he can get beaten. He cannot get beaten. Right? He's in a very safe district. He will win again and again as long as he wants it. And we need to convince Ron Kind to stick his neck out and start being a leader. How many of you know where he went to school? Where did he go to school?
Logan.
Oh, I didn't mean locally. I'm sorry.
Harvard.
Damn right. And where else?
London School.
London. Bingo. And where else? One more.
Roosevelt Elementary School. I was there.
Minnesota. This is a guy with a Harvard undergraduate degree. He's got an economics degree from the London School of Economics, and he's got his law degree in Minnesota. This is a bright guy. Why isn't he leading on this? And
He doesn't lead on anything.
I know. Believe me, I know. I've met him, by the way.
He has been pushing for small farmers over big farmers. That I think he gets.
He has, and I have a climate video of him speaking to a farmers group where he got up in 2005, I think it was, could have been 2003, talking about the climate change threat to farmers. He knows this stuff. He was at this 10 years before I was. Will he get on a bill? Will he take a vote? Will he say anything now? No. And we got to get him. If we can't get a guy like Ron Kind to lead, we got a problem. Now, and that's why I'm here. Larry, you want to know why I come up? I just came back from Nebraska. I drove down there for that State Department hearing and drove back, got a night's sleep, and came up here. Why? Because Ron Kind we got to get. So that's your job. Ron